ChatGPT said. The old man lived in a small metal hut at the edge of the colony. The roof leaked when it rained, and the cold wind came through the broken windows at night. He didn't complain. He'd been through worse. Once, he was a soldier. Brave one. He had fought in wars that most people had already forgotten. But now, no one remembered him. He spent his days fixing old machines and trading parts for food. His back hurt, his hands shook, but he worked quietly, never asking for help. One afternoon, as he was repairing a broken power fan, a loud beeping sound came from his dusty old screen. He hadn't heard that sound in years. He thought the screen was dead. Curious, he wiped the dust off and pressed the blinking button. A message appeared. It was official. It came from the alien kingdom of Travasa, a place far away, ruled by powerful dragon-like beings. The message said the king of Travas had passed away. The old man stared at the name. He remembered that king. Many years ago, during a violent war, he had saved the king's life. It was just one moment. He had pulled the wounded alien out of a burning crashed ship. The king was just a soldier back then. They never spoke again. The old man had almost forgotten about it. But the message wasn't just to inform him. It said, "By royal order, you have been granted a living gift from His Majesty's last will. Please accept it with honor." He blinked in confusion. A gift? From a dead alien king? He read the message 3 times, then scratched his head. What kind of gift could it be? He didn't want anything. He had no room, no space, no need. But something inside him whispered, "Say yes." Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the loneliness. Maybe he just wanted to feel remembered even once. He pressed accept. 2 days later, just after sunrise, a sleek silver shuttle landed outside his hut. It had royal markings. The engines hissed, and the ramp lowered. 2 alien guards stepped out, carrying a strange glowing crate. They didn't smile. They didn't explain. They simply placed the crate on the ground and said coldly, "You have received the king's last burden. Good luck." The crate opened by itself. A small creature stepped out slowly. It looked like a baby dragon. Its wings were folded. Its tail was long, and its eyes were too big for its head. It was thin, like it hadn't eaten properly in weeks. But what shocked the old man most was when the creature looked straight at him and spoke in perfect human language. "Hello," it said. "You're the one who's supposed to take care of me now?" The old man stepped back. He thought he was hearing things. Dragons didn't talk like that. They roared, hissed, or spoke in their own ancient tongue. But this one sounded almost like a child. Soft, clear, and human.
What?
Human. He looked at the alien guards. "Is this a joke?" "The creature speaks like your kind. It is not normal. The royal family despises it. That's why it was given to you. No one wants it." Then they turned and left. The shuttle rose into the sky and vanished. The old man stared at the little dragon. It looked back at him with tired eyes. "I can help fix things," it said quietly. "Please don't throw me away." The old man didn't know what to say. He had been alone for so long. But now, standing before him, was a creature no one wanted. Just like him, he opened the door to his hut and said, "Come in." And just like that, everything began to change. ChatGPT said. The small dragon stepped carefully into the old man's hut. Its sharp claws clicked softly on the metal floor. It looked around with curious eyes. Everything inside the hut was old and used. There were tools on the shelves, wires on the floor, and half-fixed machines lying in the corners. The little dragon didn't complain. Instead, it sat quietly in one corner, folding its wings and wrapping its tail around itself. The old man made a cup of hot tea and sat across from it, still unsure what to do. He had accepted many things. In his life, pain, loss, silence. But this? A talking dragon sitting in his house? That was new. "So, you talk?" he finally said. The dragon nodded slowly. "Yes, I was taught many languages, but the human one was always easiest. I like the way it sounds." The old man rubbed his chin. "In your name, Tycho?" it said. "At least that's what I was called by the one who cared about me." The man looked into the dragon's big, bright eyes. There was something different about this creature, not just its voice. Its eyes held sadness, deep sadness, the kind he knew well, the kind only those who had been thrown away by the world carried. "You hungry?" he asked. Tycho nodded quickly. The man walked to the back of his hut and pulled out a small bowl of warm stew. It wasn't much, but it was all he had. He placed it in front of the dragon. Tycho sniffed it, smiled, and began to eat slowly. "I've never eaten human food before," Tycho said between bites. "It tastes warm." That made the old man chuckle. "You talk strange for a dragon." "I'm strange in many ways," Tycho replied. As the sun went down, the man made a small bed out of old blankets and placed it near the heater. Tycho curled up on it without a word. He looked peaceful. For the first time, the hut didn't feel so quiet. The silence had changed. It didn't feel empty anymore. The next morning, the old man went outside to work on a broken farming drone. Tycho followed him without asking. The man didn't mind. He handed Tycho a small tool and pointed at the drones. "Open panel. Hold this," he said. Tycho obeyed. As the man worked, Tycho watched everything closely. After a few minutes, the dragon spoke. "The wires are crossed. That's why the drone won't start." The man looked at the wires. Tycho was right. "You got a smart brain in that little head of yours," the man said, a bit surprised. "I had to learn," Tycho answered. "No one helped me where I came from. I had to listen, watch, remember, or be punished." The old man didn't ask. What kind of punishment? He could guess. He had seen things like that during the war. He didn't need to hear the details to understand. By the end of the day, they had fixed 2 drones together. Tycho seemed happy. His tail wagged slowly. The man gave him a small piece of fried bread, and the dragon's eyes lit up. "Thank you," Tycho said softly. "You didn't have to let me stay." "I didn't," the man agreed. "But now you're here." That night, the stars above the hut seemed brighter. Tycho curled up again near the heater, and the man sat quietly with a cup of tea in his hands. He looked over at the small dragon, who had already fallen asleep. Something inside the man softened. Maybe it was the way Tycho had followed him around. Maybe it was how he spoke gently like a child. Or maybe, just maybe, it was because for the first time in years, the old man didn't feel completely alone. And that feeling was more powerful than he expected. ChatGPT said, the days passed quietly. The man and the little dragon, Tycho, worked side by side. The man didn't talk much, but Tycho didn't mind. He liked helping. He liked learning. Most of all, he liked the feeling of not being alone. One cloudy morning, as they repaired an old water pump, the man finally asked the question that had been sitting in his mind. "Why do you talk like us? Like a human?" Tycho looked down at his claws and didn't answer right away. His wings folded tightly against his back. "I was born different," he said after a long pause. "Other dragons speak their own way, deep and powerful. But I came out speaking like this, like you." The man raised an eyebrow. "How is that even possible?" "No one knows," Tycho said. "Some said I was cursed. Some said I was broken. Others just said I was wrong." His voice grew quiet. "I tried to change. I tried not to talk. But when I stayed silent, they called me a shadow. When I spoke, they called me a disgrace." The man's hand stopped working. He looked at the small dragon sitting in the dust, eyes low, voice soft. He had seen pain before, but not like this. "I grew up inside the royal palace," Tycho continued. "They fed me, yes. They kept me far from the others. I wasn't allowed to play with the young ones. The queen didn't want me seen. Others whispered behind my back. Some even threw stones when the king wasn't looking." The man clenched his jaw. He had heard stories like this before. Different faces, different names, but the same story. The weak being pushed down, the odd ones being left out. Only, "The old king spoke to me kindly," Tycho said, looking up. "He once told me, 'You are not broken. You are just something new.'" Tycho smiled a little at the memory. "He protected me. But when he got sick, the others waited. And when he died, they wanted me gone. I was a problem they could finally erase." The man stood up and walked slowly to the hut. Tycho followed. He poured 2 cups of warm tea, handing one to the dragon without a word. "They sent you to me," the man said finally, "because I'm forgotten too." Tycho blinked. "What? Do you mean I fought in the war, saved lives, lost friends? I came home with nothing, no medals, no thanks? Just pain in my back and silence in my heart. The galaxy moved on. I was left behind." The two sat there, sipping tea, saying nothing for a while. Later that day, the man brought out a small mirror from an old drawer. He wiped the dust off and gave it to Tycho. "You ever looked at yourself properly?" he asked. Tycho looked into the mirror. His eyes were golden. His scales, though dusty, shined softly in the light. His horns curled neatly. He looked nothing like a monster. "You're not ugly," the man said, "and your voice. It's not wrong. It's clear. It's calm. Reminds me of home." Tycho's tail twitched slightly. No one had ever said that before. That night, Tycho didn't sleep near the heater. He climbed onto the man's bed and lay at the foot like a loyal pup. The man didn't stop him, just pulled the blanket higher and closed his eyes. Inside that old metal hut, 2 souls who were once thrown away now shared something simple and strong, quiet trust. And though nothing outside had changed, everything inside had, ChatGPT said each morning. The man woke up to the sound of soft breathing and tiny claws tapping gently on the floor. Tycho always rose before him. The little dragon would sit by the door waiting for the day to begin. He never complained, never begged, and never caused trouble. In fact, he had started acting more like a helper than a guest. The man noticed it. When he cooked breakfast, Tycho fetched firewood. When he cleaned tools, Tycho sorted them. When something small rolled under the table or behind heavy junk, Tycho slid in with ease and brought it back with a proud smile. "What?" Day, a neighbor, knocked on the man's door. She needed help fixing her power lines. The man agreed, and without thinking, Tycho followed him like always. But when they reached the neighbor's place, she gasped and stepped back. "Is that a dragon?" she asked, fear in her voice. The man stood in front of Tycho. With me, he's dangerous," she said quickly. "Why would you bring that thing here?" "He's not dangerous," the man said calmly. "He's a child. He just wants to help." The woman didn't say anything after that. She just pointed to the wires and walked back inside. Tycho looked down, his tail curling nervously. "Should I have stayed at home?" The man shook his head. "You did nothing wrong. People just need time." Tycho nodded, but his eyes showed. He didn't believe it. That night, the man gave Tycho an old toolbox. It was dented and rusty, but still useful. "It's yours now," he said. Tycho touched it like it was treasure. "Really?" "Yeah. You've earned it." The next few days, the man and Tycho kept working. Word spread that the old man had a helper. Some were curious. Some were scared. But one day, something happened that changed many minds. A fire broke out in the grain barn near the edge of town. People shouted and ran to get water. The man grabbed a bucket and rushed to help. Tycho followed without a second thought. When they reached the barn, flames were climbing the walls. Smoke filled the air. And from inside, someone shouted, "My child, she's still inside?" Without thinking, Tycho ran toward the fire. "Stop," the man shouted. "It's too dangerous." But Tycho didn't stop. He pushed through the burning door and disappeared into the smoke. For a few seconds, everything went silent. The crowd held their breath. The man stood frozen, staring at the fire. Then, through the thick smoke, Tycho came running out. In his arms was a small girl, coughing and crying. His wings were burnt at the edges, and his scales were blackened by ash. But he held her close and didn't let go until she was safe. The crowd was speechless. The girl's mother dropped to her knees, hugging her child tightly. Then she looked up at Tycho, eyes full of tears. "Thank you," she whispered. Tycho just nodded, breathing heavily. His voice was shaky. She was scared, but she held on to me. The man walked over, put a hand on Tycho's shoulder, and said, "You did good. Real good." After that day, things changed. People still looked at Tycho with wide eyes, but now there was respect in those eyes. Some even waved when they saw him. A few kids ran up just to touch his tail or listen to his strange, kind voice. The man noticed that Tycho smiled more now. Not big, but enough to see. Their hut didn't grow any bigger. Their food didn't become fancy, but the world around them had shifted slowly. Gently, the man knew. Deep down, Tycho had begun to earn his place, not just in the hut, but in the hearts of people who once feared him. And for the first time in a long while, the man himself felt something warm he hadn't felt in years prior. ChatGPT said, one chilly morning, the man and Tycho sat outside the hut, sharing a small breakfast. Tycho's wings were healing slowly after the fire. He didn't complain once, just listened as the wind blew softly over the dry land. The man was just about to say something when he heard a sound in the sky. He looked up and saw 3 black ships flying low. They weren't local. These were Royal Patrol ships from the Dragon Kingdom. Ships landed not far from the colony center. People gathered watching from a distance. No one knew what was going on, but the man had a bad feeling in his chest. Something wasn't right. A few hours later, a message was sent to every screen in the colony. It came from the royal court. This message is official. The creature known as Tycho, a rejected royal hatchling, is to be captured and returned to the kingdom immediately. All citizens are warned not to hide or protect him. A reward will be given for his return. Resistance will be punished. The man's hands clenched into fists as he stared at the screen. Tycho sat quietly in the corner, saying nothing. He had known this day would come. They want me back, he said softly. But not to welcome me, not to help me. They want to erase me. The man walked outside without saying a word. He looked around the hills, the fields, and the sky. He had fought in wars. He had seen the eyes of cruel men before.
Yes.
He knew the look of a hunter when he saw one. And now they were hunting Tycho. He turned to the little dragon and said firmly, "We're not giving you up?" Tycho looked up, surprised. "But if you protect me, they'll come after you too." "Let them," the man said. "Might have been through worse. I'm not letting them take you." For the next few days, they didn't sleep well. The man dug out an old rifle from a locked box beneath his floor. Tycho helped set up traps and alarms. They worked together quietly, like they had done many times before. But this time, it wasn't about fixing machines. It was about survival. The people in the colony noticed the tension. Some avoided them. Others whispered behind their backs. But a few, especially the ones who had seen Tycho save the little girl, came by to offer quiet support. "You should run," one of them said. "Take the hills. Hide." But the man refused to run. He wasn't young anymore, but he was still a fighter at heart, and he wasn't going to let anyone take the one good thing left in his life. Then late one night, the man woke up and found Tycho missing. The blankets were still warm. The hut door was slightly open. He ran outside, calling, "Out in the dark, Tycho? Where are you?" There was no answer. The man followed the tracks through the dust, his heart pounding. He finally found Tycho at the edge of the valley, sitting alone, staring up at the stars. "I was going to leave," Tycho whispered without turning around. "I didn't want you to get hurt because of me?" The man walked over and sat beside him. "You think leaving will stop them?" he asked. "They won't stop chasing you. I won't stop missing you." Tycho looked down. "Don't want to lose the only person who saw me as more than a mistake." The man placed a hand gently on his head, then stay, and Will face them together. In the distance, the royal ships waited. But near the old hut, under the moonlight, a man and a small dragon sat side by side, ready for whatever was coming. Not with fear, but with quiet courage, ChatGPT said. The morning came heavy and quiet. The sky above the colony was gray, and the air felt tense. Everyone could feel that something was about to happen. Tycho stayed close to the hut, quiet and thoughtful. He barely touched his food. The man kept checking the horizon, watching for movement. His old hands held his rifle, but he knew it wouldn't be enough if real soldiers came. A knock came at the door. It was one of the neighbors. He had a serious look on his face. "We've set up a command post near the landing field," he whispered. "They're calling a public gathering this evening. Word is, They want to make an example out of the dragon. The man nodded. They won't stop. They're saying anyone who hides him will be punished. You should go. Run now. You still can. After the neighbor left, the man turned to Tycho. You heard? Tycho nodded. Then we need to move before dark, the man said. But Tycho didn't move. His golden eyes were filled with quiet thought. I don't want to run anymore, he said. I've run my whole life. And they'll keep hunting me no matter where I go. The man looked at him. So what are you thinking? Tycho took a deep breath. I want to speak. I want them to hear me. I want to stand in front of everyone and say what I need to say. Not hide, not fight, just speak. The man stared at him. For a long time he said nothing. Then he nodded. Slowly, if that's what you want, I'll stand with you. That evening, as the sun started to fall, the crowd gathered near the royal ships. Alien guards stood in armor, cold and silent. A royal officer stepped forward and raised his voice. Citizens of this colony, he announced. You are gathered here to witness the return of a mistake dragon that was never meant to live among you. Whispers moved through the crowd. Tycho stepped forward from the back. The man walked beside him. The officer looked surprised but didn't stop him. Tycho stood at the center, small compared to the tall aliens around him. But his voice, when he spoke, was strong. I know what I am, Tycho said. I know many of you think I'm strange or wrong. I was born different. I speak like humans. I think like them. But I feel like anyone else. I've felt fear. I've felt pain. I've felt loneliness. But I've also felt kindness. He looked toward the man. This man gave me a home. He didn't see a mistake. He saw someone worth saving. I helped. People, I worked, I learned, I rescued a child. Not because I had to, but because it was right. The crowd listened in silence. I didn't ask to be born like this, but I will not apologize for being who I am. I am not a danger. I am not a monster. I'm just me. His last words echoed in the open space. No one spoke. Even the royal officer looked unsure. Then, slowly, someone from the crowd clapped. Another followed, then more. Moments the whole colony was clapping. The sound filled the air like thunder. The royal guards looked around, confused. The officer stepped back. He had lost control of the moment. A message came through his come from higher command. After a long pause, he gave a simple nod. The bounty is lifted. The creature will remain here for now. The ships began to power down. The man placed his hand on Tycho's back. You did it. Tycho looked up at him, unsure. Did I? Really? The man smiled gently. You didn't fight with claws, you fought with your voice, and they listened.
At night.
The hut felt warmer than ever. Not because of the heater, but because something had changed. Tycho was no longer just a guest. He was no longer a secret. It was something more. He was a voice that made the world pause and think. Weeks passed after Tycho's speech. The air in the colony felt lighter. People walked by the hut and nodded at the man. Some even smiled at Tycho. Others left small gift stools, warm clothes, extra food. Out. No one said it directly, but their actions showed what they now felt, respect. Tycho no longer had to hide. He walked beside the man through town. Some children followed quietly, curious but not afraid. One brave boy even asked, "Can you really talk?" Tycho nodded with a small smile. "Yes, and I can listen too." The boy laughed and ran off, calling to his friends, "He talks better than my uncle." The man chuckled. "You're starting to grow on them." Tycho tilted his head. "Is that a good thing?" "It's the best thing," the man replied. One evening, while the stars blinked above, the man sat outside with Tycho beside him. They watched as a small supply ship landed at the edge of the colony. It wasn't a royal ship. It was a civilian one. The doors opened, and out came a tall, gentle-looking alien with pale blue skin and a kind face. "I heard the stories," the alien said softly. "About the talking dragon? About the human who stood beside him?" The man said nothing at first, just nodded. "I was once like Tycho," the alien continued. different, rejected by my own kind. Others like us young ones with gifts no one understands. Tycho looked up. There are others like me, not exactly like you, the alien said, smiling, but yes. Others who need a place, a home, a chance. The man listened carefully. We have land on a quiet moon, the alien explained. We build, grow food, and teach. It's peaceful there. But we need someone wise to help guide the young ones, someone patient. Someone like you too. The man didn't speak for a while. He looked at Tycho, then at the stars. Do we have to leave this place? Tycho asked softly. The man took a deep breath. Sometimes. To build something new, you have to go where you're needed. Thought about it for a day. The next morning they packed their things, what little they had. The hut was left clean, the tools organized, the floor swept. The man looked around once more before closing the door. Tycho stood beside him, holding his small toolbox. Will I make friends there? He asked. I think, the man said, you'll be the reason others start believing in themselves. They boarded the ship and left the colony behind. Months later, on a green and peaceful moon, a small group of young creatures sat in a circle. Some had wings, some had fur, some even had more eyes than usual. All were quiet, all were different. Tycho sat with them, his voice soft and warm, telling them stories not of battles or hate, but of hope, of change, of finding your place in a world that didn't always understand you. Nearby, the man worked on building new homes, teaching the older ones how to use simple tools. He didn't speak much, but when he did, everyone listened. His quiet strength became something the young ones trusted. And so, the poor human veteran, who had once lived in a cold metal hut, now lived among bright, laughing voices. The baby dragon, once despised, had become a symbol of something greater. Together they built more than just buildings. They built a home for those the world had forgotten, a place where being different wasn't a weakness, but a gift.